Okay, here's another one of those weird scenario throw-togethers. I know a lot of people feel like they love people for who they are, or they'll say something like that. And then there's, of course, a ton of people that will openly say they can't stand anybody. But I want them to try to forget about that for a minute and think to themselves how many different people they know that may be friends of theirs from so many different walks of life or so many circles of hobby. Let's say you have the one group of friends that real cool people. You go over there, they have like really shiny everything. Their floors new, brand new finish, brand new remodeled room, swimming pool and a spa and finished cabinets and everything's top of the line and it's clean and fresh and no dust and shiny and white and bright. And then say you have a family member or something like that that has literally they work for a garbage company. They don't even use a garbage can. They actually have a dumpster of their own because they work for the garbage company. So it just is back outside their trailer and they fill up buckets. And when the buckets get full, they just dump the bucket in there. But they're still so lazy sometimes that the buckets will overflow and they'll yell at the kid, "Hey, take the bucket out, garbage outside." There's those kind of so many different circles of life, I tell you. Like just from the people who can live what others would see as kind of disgusting or deprived conditions, and then others who have oh so much and feel like they need more or deserve more, yet others don't. That is all from upbringing. That's all in our minds. When you start seeing who we are, looking at names, I know this stuff sounds really funny when I say the name thing, but it goes back into heritages. It goes back into biblical names and names way before that, names of gods. The weird part about it is that we are all gods. It's just at different times in this time frame. This earth, different beings have touched and been in charge for lengths of time. And as those beings had lengths of time in charge, they would pass their ideas down with them. And as they did that, those ideals became set into people's DNA. And that DNA continued on and on and on. And it's not like the class of people who had the ability to have a little more comfort and convenience to develop new strategies and plans of either war or psychological manipulation didn't do that. Of course they did. They took all the time that they could with their leisure and their extra money and their way to manipulate people to work for them. And by that time, those people developed ideas that we're still working out today. And we've been taught to celebrate our own enslavement by being like, yeah, I'm a great citizen who pays my taxes. I'm a good person. And we never think to ourselves like, wait a minute, they've talked me into thinking that so that I won't say, wait a minute, you're stealing from me. And that's an obvious one. There's a lot of people who know that, but they don't know that this is something really deep. Trying to explain that to people when they're very surface level is almost impossible. But there's no other choice but to do that. Until we uplift ourselves, we can't go anywhere. People look for signs of the revelation, but the revelation is slowly happening to some in time. But what the revelation truly means in an energetic form is when you come to an understanding that things weren't the way you thought they were, and they have now become revealed to you from your higher self to your lower self. So basically, one of the saints or one of the gods or one of the praised masters or saviors can be said to have brought you the revelation, but there's always a stage of mind. It's not even that all the scriptures talk about you in energetic form. And the most they will get to is the physical body or the physical land, as in the earth. But other than that, it's mind, body, spirit. It's all energy and spirit movement. So it's not just, when I'm talking body, I mean a solidified thought. When we're talking about the boys, the young men, those are the immature actions that one takes and keeps in their life and that they've nurtured. And now they become the daughters because those are your immature ways. They're nurtured ways of your childish mind. And then when you get into the wives, that's when you marry a thought in a more higher stage of mind, okay? So when you have a divine marriage, that's when you've come to a conclusion. And all those kind of representations are about the same thing as a revelation, but those will be broken up into story forms through actions that either portray the emotions or through a body action of some sort. So then, what I'm trying to get at here is that the revelation truly means when things start becoming understood to you. And then the Armageddon comes from that, because everything that you thought you knew falls apart. Your grandparents didn't know they were lying, or else they knew they were lying, or they were abusive, but what led them to that was their past leading up to them being abused. They could only do what they knew, but then you're going to hold it against them because they should have known better. But you're evolving mentally and consciously, and we know how to treat each other now. We're coming from an animal stage of mind, from eating animals, and we're still holding on to those old ways. The boys. We got to get rid of the boys. So when we say we have to slaughter the women and children, we're saying the feminine nurturing of the childish mind. But people take literature and people take scriptures seriously, and they're acting upon them as if that means to go and kill the young ones and kill the women, or hide the women, the things that you nurture, the things that you hold dear. Hide that. Don't tell anybody your secrets. Don't tell anybody your deepest truths, or it can backfire on you. That's why they always hide the women. That's what it's all about. It's all energy form. The revelation is when you start to understand that things are nowhere near what you thought they were. And the Armageddon is where everything you thought you knew seems to start falling apart. And eventually that happens in the real world to everybody at a different time. But it also happens to everybody in different parts, but at once, because you're in a different place experiencing it. Right now we're going through the revelation and the Armageddon and all of the above, because Joseph and Mary and Christ and Jesus and Buddha and all of them have always and will always be you. Every single individual is all of them individually and together. And that plays out through bigger forms, through our states, through our names, through our countries. And it really does. And that's the craziest, wildest part, is that what I'm saying is true, and most people can't handle that because they want to say, no way. There's no way my name resonates with something. The universe, like one voice, one verse, one of us. I don't get that. That's just silly. And then the earth being ear plus here, because that's the way it's spelled, and that's what it basically means. We're all here on the earth, and we're bodies, and our bodies have hearts in them. So if you just take the H and put it in the front, it's like here plus. So it's sound coming into form, where humans manage color and sound, and earth is where that comes to form. Wait a minute, that makes sense, but it can't make sense. I heard that science said this, and no guy could have really understood God and the creation itself, because that's not possible. The book says only these people did it. See, that's what people fall for. And if somebody has really had it happen in their life, and no one else really has, because they're so stuck trying to make money and tell a story and get popular, that's not what a savior would do. If he's trying to save you from all the bull crap in life, they don't want anything from you. They want you to know who you are, and they want to love you. And that's me. Sorry if that's true, because it is. And if that offends you that it's true, that's weird for you, because somebody finally wants to show you who you are and let you be who you are and help guide you to be somebody better. And who am I to do that? Somebody who's had the experience I have, and no one else has it. So what should I do? Forget about it and leave you all behind? I won't do that. That's the point. So I've revealed it to you. So don't be afraid to be part of the Armageddon, so we can create a new birth of a world that's better for ourselves, our children, our loved ones to come, nature, the environment, the animals, everything. Why not? Does it make you a sissy because you care about stuff? If it does, then what are you defending in the first place? That's all I'm going to say. Something that we run into as people in the modern day world is that we spend a lot of our time looking back and following traditions and seeing what our ancestors would do for this situation, or seeing what this person would do for that situation. And we're at a point in time that has never been before for anyone that we can look back on. So we're not going to have an answer from looking back at our old traditions to do something new, to stand up for ourselves and to break away from a tyranny and from any kind of rulership government class is something that has never really happened before, unless there was an uncivilized world. But we can actually have a civilized world that doesn't have appointed rulers and masters. That's all we have to do, is remove the rulers and masters. And if you run into a problem in your life, you find the way to handle it. If people get other people to team up with them to go against you, that's kind of bad luck. But don't go through life causing a bunch of problems and making a bunch of enemies. We have to start learning to teach people to act with respect towards other people. And that's not something that can just be forced on them. You can't make people do it. It has to be something from the parent who loves the child and teach it. And if we're already people past child age, we've got to find a way to reach out to those people who may be older and may have more of a chance of getting angry or violent towards you, but we still have to try. The only other option is war or enslavement. The thing in the middle is the hardest part. To walk the middle path and try to work with people on things is the hardest way, the middle way, because you know that we're all one, but we're all separate divisions of that one. And everybody's got their own opinion, their own way of doing things, but there is a proper way to make it work as a collective group of people. And that's what we have to work on. Not getting more for this guy or more for that guy. If this guy has none and everyone else has kind of an even amount, then let's try to get this guy some. If this guy has a shitload and nobody else has any and we're running out of it, then we're going to have to take it from this guy, and this guy's going to have to learn to share. We don't have a world where that's even common anymore, unless it's like a little kid in school sharing his candy. And usually we share stuff we shouldn't have. You know, let's share the respect towards each other. cooperation, not material things. If you don't get too carried away with the kind of vibe that comes along with hearing the term veganism, I totally agree with trying to do as little harm as possible by letting something that's alive live its life, no matter what kind of life it is. It doesn't just have to be a human being. And for people who think that that's some kind of outrageously radical, extremist thing to do, to let something live its life, just try to put yourself in that place. Maybe not yourself. How about at any given time, there's tons of animals that are on the kill floor, ready to be killed. If you just took the idea of that animal that you care nothing about and put your family dog there in its place, all of a sudden, that living thing has a personality and a meaning to somebody. Well, to itself, it's important. Isn't that enough? To you right now, your life is important, and you want to be able to live it without other people telling you what to do, how to do it, or threatening to hurt you. We as human beings have been doing that to every other thing that lives here. Every other thing. And we say we can because our idea of God said we could. It's so backwards that if you just thought about it and cared, you'd realize that caring and wanting the best for people does not mean killing a bunch of stuff just so you can eat it, when you could do something better. And there are people doing that already, so you can't say, oh, it's not possible. It is. You just have to get over the fact that you don't want to change what you're used to. But when you find out that what you're used to doing is wrong and unnecessary and is cruel, then you should want to be better. That's the whole point. You've got to want to be better. And you've got to realize that not killing things or contributing to death is actually a lot better than doing those things, contributing to death and killing things. Obviously, we don't have to act like barbarians or warriors or live like we're on survival mode 24/7, because we're not. If you're alive, you're surviving. Now let's make that better, okay? Try to put yourself in those shoes, or your family dog. Poodles and noodles. You can't say somebody who's an outrageous vegan that you think is so outrageous. Be like, poodles. For some reason, this recipe that was passed down is only good when it's poodles. And I'm sorry you happen to have a poodle. It's the exact kind of breed that makes the best poodles and noodles. I could have a soy version or a veggie version, but you can't have soy poodles and noodles, of course. So, I'm sorry, but whether you love it or not, whether you have feelings about it, whether you want it to live a good life and you care about it, I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat that living thing. You've just developed a friendship or a relationship with it. If you could see the living things in the world like that, the world will change and be better. That's how we do it. Just have some consideration for other life. Here's an imaginary skit between Farmer Billy's son, Jojo, and the preacher. He says, "Preacher, if you can live by eating fruits and vegetables and grains and stuff like that that grows, why would God want you to kill animals?" And he'd say, "Well, Jojo, God wants us to, we can choose to breed and raise other living things and chop them up and eat them because that's what God says we can do. Not that we have to, Jojo." But wouldn't a loving and good God not want you to do that But Billy, we gotta have ribs, we gotta have ribs, Billy. Jojo. Just think of how weird that would sound trying to explain why we have to, and say you have a medical professional standing right next to the preacher being like, actually, preacher, no, there's scientific proof, and there are people who are living for a long, long time who have never touched meat or animal stuff. It's part of their life because they've lived that way. But God said we could. That's a weird God to be looking up to. If you really think that's what God would do. God doesn't have any preference for people. That's just an idea people have put in your heads. They're just people too. They were inspired by the word of God. God is evolving, and it's time to evolve better than we have been. Don't you think? Or do you not think?